You know, horror movies have given us many unforgettable characters, but very few actors truly become legends. One of those rare names is Tony Todd, a man whose deep, haunting voice and towering presence turned him into a horror icon, yet whose real-life personality was kind, gentle, and deeply inspiring. The Candyman franchise didn't just create a monster, it introduced the first major horror franchise built around a black supernatural villain, and in doing so, it cemented Tony Todd's place in film history. But his journey to that legacy was long, emotional, and filled with hard-earned success. Tony Todd was born Anthony Tehran Todd on December 4, 1954 in Washington, D.C. He had an older brother named Donald Todd, a half-brother named Isaiah, and a sister, Monique Dupree, who would later become an actress and professional wrestler. At just 3 years old, Tony's life changed forever when he moved to Hartford, Connecticut to live with his Aunt Clara. His mother was going through personal struggles at the time, and Aunt Clara, a woman who could never have children of her own, stepped in and raised Tony as her own son. Tony often said that she didn't just raise him, she saved him. Growing up, Tony was a normal kid. He loved comic books, joined the Boy Scouts, and spent countless hours reading. His aunt worked as a maid, and whenever she cleaned houses, she took Tony with her and made sure he stayed busy, enrolling him in programs, encouraging his curiosity, and exposing him to books and education. But there was another side to Tony that began to grow quietly: his love for movies, especially horror films. Late at night, he would watch scary movies on television. His favorite was Rosemary's Baby, not because of gore, but because of its psychological depth. That fascination with fear, tension, and storytelling would later define his career. In high school, Tony experienced a major growth spurt and reached 6 feet 5 inches tall. Coaches wanted him to play sports, but Tony wasn't athletic. He described himself as a shy, awkward kid, a nerd who even struggled with stuttering. Everything changed when he took a public speaking class. For the first time, Tony discovered the power of his voice. That class gave him confidence, helped him overcome his shyness, and allowed him to realize something special: his voice could move people. An English teacher later gave him a copy of Shakespeare's The Tempest, and that book opened his mind completely. Soon after, Tony joined the drama club. At first, he didn't get acting roles and worked behind the scenes, pulling curtains for school plays. But eventually, he landed roles on stage, including his very first play, Dracula. Standing in front of an audience, hearing applause, and seeing his Aunt Clara watching proudly, that was the moment Tony knew acting was his life's purpose. After graduating high school, Tony enrolled at the University of Connecticut, but dropped out after 1 year because the program focused heavily on musical theater, which wasn't his strength. While many family members wanted him to join law enforcement, Tony followed his heart and returned to school, this time studying theater at the Eugene O'Neill National Actors Theater Institute, one of the most respected acting institutions in America. He also trained at the Trinity Repertory Company in Rhode Island. Before fame arrived, Tony spent 2 years as a school teacher, teaching playwriting to middle school students. Eventually, he moved to New York City, earned his Actors Equity card, and worked in theater while bartending to survive. That bartender job changed everything. Through connections, Tony met people who knew legendary director Oliver Stone. Stone saw Tony perform in a play and was deeply impressed. Soon after, Tony was invited to audition for the 1986 war film Platoon. He landed the role of Sergeant Warren, appearing alongside Charlie Sheen, Forrest Whitaker, Keith David, and Johnny Depp. Filming Platoon was brutal. Tony later said he witnessed grown men crying on set. The film was shot in the Philippines under extreme conditions, but it became a massive success, grossing over $140 million and winning multiple Oscars. From there, his career exploded. Throughout the late 80s and early 90s, he appeared in films like Enemy Territory, Colors, Bird, and Lean on Me, and TV shows like 21 Jump Street, MacGyver, Night Court, and Matlock. In 1990, Tony landed his first leading role in the remake of Night of the Living Dead, a performance that proved he could carry a film. That same year, he joined Star Trek: The Next Generation as Kurn, the Klingon warrior and brother of Worf, a role that earned him a massive fan base. But in 1992, everything changed. Tony Todd became Candyman. Inspired by urban legends, racial trauma, and real-life horror, Candyman was more than a slasher film. It was social commentary wrapped in terror. Tony's performance was chilling, elegant, and unforgettable. The production was extremely dangerous. Over 200,000 real bees were used on set. Tony negotiated $1,000 per sting and was stung 27 times. For scenes with bees in his mouth, a dental dam was used to protect him. The film was shot in the infamous Cabrini Green projects, an area controlled by gangs where real snipers once fired bullets through the crew's van. Despite all that, the film was a success, and Tony Todd became a horror legend. He reprised the role in Candyman: Farewell to the Flesh and Candyman: Day of the Dead, though he later admitted he wasn't proud of the third film. He even wrote a script for Candyman 4, which never got made due to rights issues. Beyond horror, Tony continued working non-stop. He appeared in The Crow, The Rock, Wishmaster, Caught Up, Final Destination, and many more. As William Bloodworth in Final Destination, he became the mysterious face of death itself, a role fans loved across multiple sequels. He also became a legendary voice actor, lending his voice to Transformers, The Flash, video games, and animated series. His voice alone could command fear. In 2021, Candyman was rebooted by Jordan Peele, and Tony publicly expressed pride in the new generation honoring the story correctly. In 2023, while battling terminal stomach cancer, Tony returned one final time for Final Destination: Bloodlines. Knowing it was his last performance, the director asked him to speak from the heart about life, death, and legacy. Cast members later said the moment was magical and unforgettable. On November 6, 2024, Tony Todd passed away at the age of 69. Despite his legendary career and over 250 film and TV credits, the Oscars failed to include him in their memorial tribute, sparking outrage from fans and his family. Tony Todd wasn't just a horror icon. He was a survivor, a storyteller, a voice that will echo forever. Rest in peace, Tony Todd. Your legend lives on.